From Local 10 News, this is breaking news.
We're getting you updated on the breaking news this morning. We've been covering a Miami Gardens police officer shot in good condition at Aventura Hospital, but we are about to hear from the Miami Gardens police chief.
That's right. We also know a suspect has been taken into custody. This is a developing story. We're also hearing from the Police Benevolent Association that this officer might have been ambushed. Of course, this is an ongoing thing, something that we've been watching. We know that schools were on lockdown earlier this morning in Miami Gardens as all of this was happening. Parents were definitely concerned about the safety of all of that, but we know that that suspect has been taken into custody. In the meanwhile, we want to show you a picture of that police officer who was involved with that shooting. Again, he was taken to Aventura Hospital just a little while ago. Here he is, David Starling of the Miami Gardens Police Department. We're hearing there were two separate scenes. One scene right off of Northwest 183rd Street, that's Miami Gardens Drive, and Northwest 7th Avenue. That's where we're hearing he was shot. And then a second scene off of Northwest 32nd Avenue. That's where we're hearing that suspect was apprehended.
Okay, let's take you to the scene. That second scene Constance was just talking about, 183rd Street at Northwest 32nd Avenue. That is right near Miami Carroll City High School. If you were looking for a locator there, this is where we understand this scene ended. The shooting happening at that first location and then about a 3-mile or so pursuit. And this is where things ended. We also know that there is a car accident at this location right here. How that accident is related to the shooting, to the pursuit, right now, these are details we just don't know. But also right there at that scene is where we will just moments away hear from Miami Gardens Police Chief Antonio Brooklen. He is going to address us, give us an update on the condition of Officer David Starling. Starling set to be in good condition at Aventura Hospital. It does appear that Mr. Brooklen has stepped to the microphones. As you can see, everybody standing by. Let's listen in as he begins to speak and hopefully gives us some real good information about what happened here today.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Chief Antonio Brooklen, City of Miami Gardens Police Department. Here to report this morning around 8:28 a.m. one of our officers was in the parking lot of a business located at 183rd Street and Northwest 7th Avenue. He was completing an accident report when he observed a black BMW SUV pass his vehicle unrelated to the accident. As he looked at the vehicle made contact with him visually, backed up, and ambushed the officer by discharging a firearm in the direction of the officer. The officer, after receiving fire, took evasive action to further dive into the vehicle, in which time he was struck one time in the lower extremities. At which time he maintained his composure. He got on the radio as the subject began to flee and call out the description of the vehicle, the description of the subject, and the direction of travel, and started pursuing the vehicle westbound on Northwest 183rd Street as they approached 10th Avenue. As other officers from the Miami Gardens Police Department joined the chase, the subject then, at approximately 20th Avenue, leaned out the window with a firearm and began to fire at the officers who were in pursuit of him. As he continued westbound on 183rd Street at 27th Avenue, he then again leaned out the vehicle and began to fire more rounds at additional officers who had joined the chase. As he proceeded to our location now, which is 183rd Street and Northwest 32nd Avenue, he entered the intersection and crashed into a vehicle, and at which time he bailed out of the vehicle and ran into the southern direction, to which he was apprehended in the back of one of the yards in the area right now. We have the subject in custody. The officer is doing good. He has non-life-threatening injuries. He was transported to a local hospital to where he's receiving treatment. And none of our officers discharged any weapon because we didn't have an opportunity to. The officer was ambushed. And one of the things that I want to say is, in the day and age that we're policing our communities and we're policing our country, the violence must stop. I want to commend the officers from the Miami Gardens Police Department for not only apprehending this individual, but doing it with professionalism. And it's kind of hard to say doing it with professionalism when you're undertaking fire. But they did an outstanding job. No one was hurt from the Miami Gardens Police Department other than the officer who was injured. No one from the community was hurt, and I want to commend them for an outstanding job. I want to thank all of our municipal and county agencies who assisted us and continue to call and offer assistance to help us get through this tragic time. But I must say that the violence against police officers in this country must stop. The violence against children must stop. The violence against our community must stop. No one is exempt from violence. We suffer as a community. We can overcome this as a community. We all must get together. It's not just a police officer's responsibility. It's not just the social organization's responsibilities. It's the communities as a whole. We must come together and join forces and do what is necessary to bring this senseless violence to an end. And I can tell you that we are committed at the Miami Gardens Police Department. I'm in constant meetings with the county and other of our municipal organizations, our chaplains, our social organizations, that we're going to do everything within our powers to ensure that everything that's going on in this day and age, that we're going to do everything to bring this to an end, because it must stop before we lose any more innocent victims. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Hey, Chief, the name of the suspect?
We haven't identified the name of the suspect yet. We do have him in custody, and once we get that information, we'll release it during a press release. I'm not at liberty to discuss that or release it right now. Once we make proper notifications, we'll release that information also in a press release. From right now, the only thing I can tell you, because we're still investigating and still attempting to talk to him, is someone who decided to ambush a police officer. And you know, every police officer that we communicate with, every police officer that takes this job knows the risk. We know the risk. We take the good and the bad. We're second guessed in every situation. But when you take this job, you have an understanding that knows that you may not come home at the end of the day. And yet and still, these officers for the city of Miami Gardens, they come to work every day. They come to work focused. They come to work with a renewed attitude to provide a secure environment for our citizens. So whatever this gentleman was going through, we're going to find out. We're going to find out if there was a motive. But for right now, he ambushed someone who is protected, who's employed to protect and serve our citizens.
Chief, was that suspect still armed when he was caught in the nearby neighborhood?
We did recover a weapon.
On him or his
I'm not sure at this particular time.
a yellow tarp covering the driver's side, that's significant?
We're in the process of completing the investigation and getting a warrant before we go in the vehicle to see what we find at that time.
Would you say how long this officer had been on the force, the one that was injured?
He's a veteran officer. The exact amount of years, I don't know.
What's the age of the suspect?
We don't have that information either. We haven't identified any of that information. Once we get that information, we'll release it in an additional press release.
Any other police cars get hit when he was shooting back at them?
Yes, we have several of our unmarked vehicles that were struck during the pursuit when he was outside of the window firing at the car.
Is there a reason to believe specific officer or just
When you ambush a police officer that's sitting in a marked police vehicle in uniform, that's not my concern. If you have that much hate and aggression to attempt to assassinate a police officer who's paid to protect and serve, there's no justification for it. None whatsoever. Like I say, I want to continuously commend the officer for maintaining his composure, for my officers for continuing pursuit of someone who was desperately trying to take the life of someone who's paid to protect and serve. And at the end of the day, this tragedy was not that bad because we didn't lose an officer. It's bad that he was shot, but I thank God that we're able to talk about this as a tragedy of an officer injured, and not me having to notify a family that we've lost an officer due to gun violence. I will tell you this much, the outpouring of support that we receive in this community is great. And in spite of everything that we encounter every day, we will continue to come out and do the job that we've been paid to do, and that's to protect and serve the citizens of Miami Gardens. Thank you very much. Antonio Brooklen, Chief Antonio Brooklen.
Okay, that is Miami Gardens Police Chief Antonio Brooklen describing a truly terrifying scene this morning for an officer we have confirmed to be David Starling. We know we have Laren Livingston, who is at 7th Avenue and Northwest 183rd Street. According to Chief Brooklen, this is where this incident began. That is where Officer Starling was filing an accident report and had someone pass him, return, and open fire. Laren, live at that scene where this shooting led.
That's right, and in fact, you can still see that SUV still parked here in this parking lot, and you see officers sometimes on the side of the road filling out their reports, filing their reports. This is not an uncommon occurrence, and that's what this officer was doing, and that's why the chief sounded so passionate about what he was saying there. He says that this officer was ambushed. He says he had to dive into this SUV to keep from getting hit or injured even further as this shooting was going on, called for help, and then this pursuit started happening. These other officers came and gave aid, trying to get this situation under control. Thankfully, no one else was injured because this was a busy time of day. There's a shopping strip just on the other side of this parking lot where this initial shooting happened. There's a Presidente supermarket here, people going in and out of the grocery store here with shopping carts. There's a furniture store, a Metro PCS wireless store. Busy economic area right here. Lots of people in this parking lot. Thankfully, none of those other bullets hit any of those other people. We do know that there is a mobile command unit that they have brought in on the other side of this building, not far from where this officer's SUV is sitting here right now. And so police are in the middle of this investigation, not just at this scene, but across this area as they're trying to piece together what exactly happened here. You heard the chief there talk about how none of his officers discharged any of their weapons during this entire situation. He commended them for their professionalism here, and they're still here making sure that this investigation gets underway and gets underway as quickly as possible so that they have all the evidence and all the witnesses that they can speak with, should there be any, so that they can continue this investigation going forward. We hope to speak to some people here. We heard some from one of the owners of the Milano furniture store here at the corner of this strip. He says he heard these gunshots as he was opening up his store here. We hope to talk to some of these people as soon as we possibly can to see what all else they heard as a result of this situation. Sky 10 is overhead, keeping a watch over us right now, just from the skies right now. But like I said, busy area here, lots of people here, just thankful that no one else was injured as a result of this. You're talking about this guy allegedly going down through this area, shooting at police, shooting at this particular police officer's SUV here. So I'm just glad that no one else potentially was hurt or injured here in this situation. But it's a situation we'll continue to monitor here from the scene of where this shooting and all of this started. For now, reporting live, Laren Livingston, Local 10 News.
You know, Laren had mentioned the number of shots that were fired along with the police chief. We know shots were fired right off of 20th Avenue, 27th Avenue, again at 32nd Avenue, and also initially off of 7th Avenue. Let's go to those pictures again of that officer that was injured. Police did confirm with us that he was injured, taken to Aventura Hospital, will be okay. Ben Kennedy at the scene of where that suspect was apprehended.
Yeah, and Ben, the police chief describing a really terrifying scene. You were there, you listened to the police chief describe what happened this morning. Walk us through this from start to finish as far as we know.
Eric and Constance, Chief Antonio Brooklen multiple times just wanted to commend that officer that got shot, how he maintained his composure despite getting shot, got back in his car and tried to pursue this bad guy. In fact, we now know that is his SUV out there in the distance, that black BMW SUV. That is the car that the shooter was behind the wheel, shot at several police officers as he made his way, ended up here at this scene. We are told that he got into a car accident with a white pickup truck, which is now in the center of Northwest 183rd Street and 32nd Avenue. That is where the pursuit stopped. But this began blocks away on 7th Avenue. That is where this officer was doing some paperwork when this black SUV rolled up, backed up, got out, and shot at the officer, got back in his car and sped away. The officer, as the chief was talking about, maintained his composure, got in his marked car and pursued after that suspect. Several police officers did join in the chase. I did ask the chief, were anyone else hit by a bullet? He said not specifically an officer was hit, but several squad cars. We did talk to a neighbor nearby. Take a listen.
And I heard a bang, and that was the accident.
I spoke to that neighbor about 15 minutes before this news conference with the chief. Neighbors did not hear any shots, but they did hear that big crash, and you can tell by the damage these two cars, the SUV and the white truck, hit very hard. Again, an active scene here as police continue to work this investigation. But again, the officer that got shot will be all right. He is recovering. That's the good news. You heard the chief, Brooklen, really emphasize that. He was not talking about a death, not having to go talk to a family about a police officer killed. So he said that was the one bright light in this story as they continue to try to find out, quite frankly, why this man did what he did. Eric, Constance.
All right, Ben Kennedy live there at the scene. Ben, looking to gather more information, certainly more details on what's behind that yellow tarp there and that accident in that black SUV. The police chief describing just a scene, and this officer was shot, radioed it in, jumped in his vehicle, and then pursued the person that just fired at him.
Yeah,
Just an incredible story of what this officer did.
Yeah, he kept his composure, his professionalism, and Erica Rayco, in fact, she is live at Aventura Hospital. She's been talking to some people who know him, that he's also worked before in Jacksonville, an experienced veteran cop here, right?
That he is, Constance. I understand he spent an entire career in Jacksonville at the sheriff's office, came to Miami Gardens at least 15 years ago. He was just sitting in his patrol car doing some paperwork when he was, quote, ambushed. Joining me here at the hospital now is the PBA president of Dade County, John Rivera. And John, you just went in to visit this officer. Tell us how he is doing and what kind of spirits he's in.
Yeah, I mean, he's in good spirits. He's a little angry. He's a little concerned. He's also concerned for his fellow officers, and he wishes he'd be on the streets there, make sure that his fellow officers are okay. But we spoke to him. He's in good spirits, and the nurses are tending to him, and thank God that he's alive. Today, I will tell you, he had several guardian angels watching over him, because the set of circumstances involving this case, by all rights, he should have been dead. So we're grateful that he's not. We're grateful that he only got shot once, if that's to be grateful for. But the streets are mean, and Miami-Dade County is a violent place to work and to live and to play.
Yeah, and you say concerned for officers, and he's angry, and I bet that comes, I mean, explain for us, this is an officer sitting there doing his job, doing what he has to do, not interacting with people, and this is where the word scary comes into play.
Yeah, he was totally ambushed. The report that he was writing had nothing to do with the individual who shot him. The police officers work out of their cars. That's their office. And so imagine he's sitting in his office writing a report, and somebody comes up and ambushes him for no reason.
And he was shot in his butt. You saw him in there. Can you tell us any more about the extent of his injuries or condition?
No, I mean, we were able to speak to him, and the nurses and doctors were tending to him.
Okay, so he's up and talking, and as far as you know, no surgery at this point.
I don't know anything about surgery. Yeah.
Okay, but you think he'll be here for a little bit?
I think so.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. And again, Officer David Starling, he is still here at Aventura Hospital. I understand his wife is on the way here to see him. We'll, of course, have much more on his condition and what is going on here from Aventura coming up at noon. Constance?
All right, Erica, thank you so much for that update.
And one more look at the officer we were talking about here this morning. David Starling with the Miami Gardens Police Department, shot in the buttocks, is in good condition at Aventura Hospital, was shot, heroically chased down the shooter, and now that person is in custody.
Of course, we're going to have much more on this developing story on Local10.com, and also join us for Local 10 News at noon.
This has been breaking news from Local 10 News. For continuing coverage, log on to Local10.com.